My speech is a brief overview about the current stage of the international multi-center study, ongoing study, which is called Estimating the Effects of COVID-19 Outbreak on Mental Health. But before this, I would like to give you some small tips about the webinar. So I would like to say that we will have discussion and questions and answers session in the end, after all speakers will present their data. And you can use the chat to ask the speakers particular questions, and the speakers will read the chat, and in the end, during discussion, they will be able and ready to choose, if there are too many questions, to choose questions to present the answers to the audience. And also, I need to inform you that we have a drop-off among speakers. You know, we have drop-off rates in research, and we have 2 speakers left us on very important reasons. First is Professor Senad, with very important talk on potential role of memantine in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19, but he sent us the presentation and we can share with all the participants. And he works in an emergency department, and so he was called by his chief of the hospital, so he couldn't join us. And the second speaker, who was in this list of the drop-off speakers, I'm sorry to say, is Professor Li from China, who is now on train in China and trying to reach another city to give us a talk. And we just hope, but she apologized a lot, as well as Dr. Senad. So don't think that I present only brief overview and small tips. There is some big job sometimes on the background, and sometimes 2 hours of sleep before the webinar, but I will try to present this data about our research, ongoing research. So, as already Professor Kostas said, there are many of papers and literature full of opinions, viewpoints, perspective, but there is no empirical data published. So the aim of the current study is to investigate the rate of clinical depression in the adult population across countries during the period of the lockdown due to COVID-19 pandemic, or a retrospective view on the lockdown if the lockdown is over in some of the countries. And the secondary aims are to investigate the change in anxiety, distress, suicidal ideation, and their relations with a number of personal and interpersonal social variables. So what are these psychological effects of the lockdown or quarantine? They call it the lockdown like this in Italy, for example, or in Malaysia, they say we will not understand what lockdown is. We call it differently. So this is all about the phenomena of social isolation. And social isolation, it is proved, affects brain. So we're talking about brain biology and what Professor Morozov mentioned. So we expect something in years, in future, about our brains and brain biology, how it will react to this COVID-19, to this virus. Also, we speak about mental health or mental functioning or psyche, mental functions, and how they are disturbed, damaged, due both the virus effect and due to effect of social isolation due to lockdown. And also we are talking about behavior. Behavior is a very difficult phenomena in psychiatry to describe. And we also talk about the long-term consequences of lockdown social isolation, and COVID-19 living with us. So there were several papers published and showed that social relationships are really important for human health and longevity. And prolonged social isolation can induce stable change in human behavior. Also, there was a recent research, probably all of you read, written, published by King's College London researchers, scientists, which notes that the psychological difficulties of quarantine can last a long time, especially with regard to the information to be given and the duration of the isolation. The researchers state that their study showed a wide range of psychological impacts of quarantine, lockdown, including symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, feelings of anger, fear, and substance abuse. And you can see there was a picture was spread on Facebook and via social media about anti-mask protesters, for example. And we say, don't tell anti-mask protesters that the mask stops COVID-19. Tell them it stops facial recognition software used by the 5G federal government Skynet from tracking you. Yes, and also another social reaction I would like to mention, this anti-racist demonstrations with reaction of really reactions of anger and destructive behavior happened in US, and then in UK they were very contagious, and then in France when they destroyed the monuments and put them into Seine or Thames. And you can see this is the picture from London, and there are the words written, "I can't breathe." And as I can't breathe, as this guy who died in United States, we can't breathe because of COVID-19 as well. So it's very important what's going on. What we mentioned, both not just a COVID-19 effect as the effect of virus, but also infodemia or infodemics. And there was a big conference of World Health Organization about a special direction on infodemia. And in our questionnaire, copyrighted by Pan-Hellenic Medical Association and Professor Kostas Fountoulakis, who is the chief investigator of the project, we have this section J, which is titled Opinions about the Origin of the Epidemic. And we ask people in our questionnaire, do you believe that the COVID-19 vaccine was ready even before the virus broke out and they conceal it from us for the benefit of pharmaceutical companies? Do you believe that COVID-19 was created in a laboratory to be used as a biochemical weapon for the extermination of the human population? Do you believe that COVID-19 is a result of 5G technology antenna? Do you believe that COVID-19 appeared accidentally from human contact with animals and it was something that generally happens and was generally expected? And other questions. So we also study in our questionnaire not just the symptoms of anxiety, symptoms of depression, not just measure the stress, but we also research the opinions about the origin of the epidemic and COVID-19. And it was a very nice picture from the Indian English newspaper when we see pandemics, which attacks the immune system, and we see the infodemics, which attacks the common sense in people. So this is the additional trigger, the additional stressor for general population we can observe and we should research. And as for material and methods of the study, I just want to remind you that we use the protocol available for answering online in the anonymous way and targeting the general population using the Google Doc form links. And the initial approval was given by the Ethics Committee of the Faculty of Medicine of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, Greece, and supported by Pan-Hellenic Association. And what is important that the questionnaire has scales incorporated, which are already validated and published by the chief investigator, Professor Kostas Funtoulakis, measuring stress, suicidal ideation, anxiety. You see this screenshot of the titles paper here. And also, I would like to emphasize that the combined approach we use in the study with the algorithm plus the cutoff method will help us to clarify if the person is depressed or stressed. And not only depressed and stressed, we also remember this infodemia, or maybe irritated and aggressed and anxious and others. And who participate for now? There are 36 countries representatives, and it took me a long time to put all these red dots on the map. Yes. And this was the big job I've done, because I'm joking. So 36 countries, but yes, we see Egypt here in Africa, but more representatives from Europe. And also recently, Japan joined us, and now at the stage of ethics committee. And already I've seen that Professor Tomohiro already translated the questionnaire into Japanese language. So we have 26 language versions already and 26 Google Doc links to share. And each country has its separate Google Doc link to collect the data among general population experiencing lockdown, the specific conditions in their countries. And this is the number of responses we get for now, 27,526, and estimated 100,000 as we negotiated with countries. And I would like to say that there are many countries who are still at the stage of ethical committee approval. For example, in Brazil, they collected 265 responses, and then they applied with this data for ethical committee approval, and then they will be ready to share the link with the big data set of representative sample of population in Brazil, general population in Brazil. And the same we have for Indonesia. Just ethical committee gave the approval, and there is a small representative sample. And we have countries who already completed that data collection. Greece, 3,500. Latvia, 2,500. And you see here in red is what we collected for now, and in black it's what we negotiated and expect from the countries. And I would like to say that we postponed the deadline over the August to use all the resources to reach these numbers for better data analysis. And in Russia, we're also trying to reach our goal, 10,000. Now we have 7,435 responses. So what we have for now, flattening the curve of the second wave, but we have countries who are joining us, And so maybe it will be the second part of the data analysis. So we will have the analysis from other countries coming and joining for the second phase. But now we have negotiations with Chile, Mexico, Nigeria, Sweden agreed, Peru, and South Africa. And it's very difficult in South Africa because the general population is very different to have this representative sample. So I would like to show you our team. And also it took a long time for me, like those red dots, to put the faces of our colleagues, of our team. But I think it's very important to see us working together in faces. And also not everybody is at the picture. Now there are around 120 collaborators from 36 countries. So I would like to give you this last message and key message: to stay safe in your countries, to keep calm yourself. As my professor said, that one of those who is in psychiatric hospital who are having conversation should be mentally healthy. Yes, so we should stay mentally healthy to treat our patients. And please do breathe, because it's very important in this time. Thank you very much.